Once upon a time, there was a king and queen who lived in a beautiful castle. They had longed for a baby, and then, one day, their wish came true. "We will name her Aurora," smiled the queen. But there was an evil witch who was not invited. They threw a big party, inviting everyone, even the good fairy who came to grant wishes. When it was her turn, she growled. When the princess turned 16, she will touch the top and sleep forever. Everyone was worried, but the fairy finally said softly, "She will not die. She will only sleep, and then she will be awakened by a kiss of true love." So the king ordered all the tops to be hidden. But on her 16th birthday, while walking in the castle, she saw a strange woman spinning. Years passed. Aurora grew up beautiful, gentle, loved flowers, and sang very well. "What is a spinning top?" Aurora wondered. Touch! She touched, and fell asleep. The whole castle fell into a deep sleep. Trees grew all over the castle. He came, past the thorn bushes, and reached where Aurora lay. Many years later, a brave prince heard the story of the sleeping castle. He said softly, "I have come, princess," and kissed her gently on the forehead. Aurora opened her eyes. The whole castle woke up. The sun shone brightly, and then the prince and the princess lived together happily. Gentle lesson: sometimes a long dream needs someone who truly loves to wake it up. Once upon a time, there was a kind old woman who lived alone. She wished for a little girl to love. One day, a fairy gave her a magic flower seed. "Plant this carefully," said the fairy. The woman did, and pop! A lovely flower bloomed. Inside was a tiny, tiny girl, no bigger than a thumb. "Oh my," said the woman. "I will call you Thumbelina." Thumbelina slept in a walnut show bed with a rose petal blanket, and she sang soft songs every day. She paddled in a lily petal boat across the water. But one night, a big, old toad jumped in and grabbed her. "Hey, you'll marry my son," croaked the toad. Plop! She was taken away. Poor Thumbelina was frightened but not angry. She made friends with the fish and butterflies, and they helped her escape. She floated down the river, through forests, and met a beetle, then an old mole who wanted to keep her underground. Though many wanted to keep her, Thumbelina was always polite, kind, and brave. One winter day, she found a swallow lying in the snow. She wrapped him in grass and gave him seeds. The bird healed and said, "You're so kind. Come with me. I will take you somewhere warm." Together they flew across mountains and forests until they reached a magical garden full of giant flowers. Inside a flower, Thumbelina met a tiny flower prince, gentle and kind. They became best friends and later got married. Now she lived in a blooming flower, with butterflies and sunlight every day. Gentle lesson: even if you're small, your kindness and bravery can lead you to big happiness. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there lived a little princess named Snow White. She had skin as white as snow, lips as red as roses, and hair as black as night. Everyone loved her, except the queen. The queen had a magic mirror. Every day she asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of all?" And the mirror would answer, "You, my queen." But one day, the mirror said, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." The queen was furious. She chased Snow White away, deep into the woods. Snow White was frightened, but then she found a tiny house. Inside were 7 kind dwarfs. Each was a bushy beard and a funny name. They said, "Snow White, you can stay with us." And they all became good friends. But no, the queen found out where she was. She disguised herself and gave Snow White a shiny red apple. Snow White took a bite and fell asleep. The dwarfs cried and cried. Then one day, a kind prince came by. He saw Snow White and kissed her hand gently. Suddenly, Snow White woke up. The spell was broken. Everyone cheered. Snow White smiled. The dwarfs danced. And the queen disappeared without a trace. Snow White and the prince lived happily ever after. And what about the 7 dwarfs? They came to the castle every week to eat cookies and hug each other. The Frog Prince, a gentle story of promises and sincerity. Once upon a time, in a lush green kingdom, there was a beautiful and mischievous princess. She loved to play in the flower garden, run around, and especially loved to play with a shiny golden ball that her father had given her. Every day, she threw the ball up into the air and caught it, laughing and singing. That golden ball was her favorite thing in the world. One afternoon, the sky was clear. The princess went to play near a deep well in the middle of a small forest. The ball flew very high, then boom, fell into the well. "See how high I throw the ball," she shouted. Whoosh! "Oh no, my ball!" The princess sat down on the edge of the well, tears in her eyes. Suddenly, a strange voice rang out from the water. "I can help you get your ball back." The princess looked down in panic and saw a frog as big as her hand, with round eyes looking up at her. "Will you agree to be my friend? Let me eat at your table, stay in your room, and sleep in your bed?" The princess thought for a moment. It was just words. "Yes, I promise. Just get me my ball back." The frog dove down splash and jumped up with a shiny golden ball on its head. The princess shouted happily, "Thank you, little frog." And she ran away without letting the frog say another word. That evening, while the princess was having dinner in the castle with her father, knock, knock, there was a knock on the door. A deep voice rang out from the hall. "Princess, open the door. I have come to keep your promise." The king asked, "Let the frog in." "What did you promise?" The princess blushed. "I was just joking. It was just a frog." But the king said sternly, "A real princess must keep her word." The frog jumped onto the dining chair, sat next to the princess, politely and quietly. She was annoyed and said nothing. A golden light flashed. The frog disappeared. But then, looking into the frog's big round eyes, not angry, not annoying, just a little sad. When it was time to go to bed, the frog said again, "Let me into bed as you promised." The princess was filled with tears and turned away. She sighed, gently picked the frog up, and placed it beside her pillow. "I am sorry for forgetting my promise. You are a true friend." At that moment, boom, and before her stood a young prince, his eyes kind, his smile warm. "Your sincere promise has broken the witch's curse. Now I am myself." From then on, they became close friends, riding horses, reading books, and walking in the forest where it all began. Every time the princess saw a frog by the lake, she giggled. Who knows? Maybe there is a prince waiting for a promise. A gentle lesson for children. Never judge someone by their appearance. And when you make a promise, keep it, because trust is the greatest miracle. Cinderella fairy tales for children 3 to 5 years old. Once upon a time, there was a very good and gentle girl named Cinderella. She lived in a big house with her stepmother and 2 sisters, but they did not love Cinderella. Every day, they made her sweep the floor, wash dishes, do laundry, make fire. Cinderella did not have a nice dress, did not eat well, and only wore an old, worn-out dress. She sang softly while working, and little birds often flew to her to listen. However, Cinderella always smiled. Good news in the palace one day. The king made a big announcement. The prince will hold a ball to choose a bride. All the girls in the kingdom were invited to the castle. Cinderella's 2 sisters were very happy. They laughed and talked, running back and forth trying on each ball dress. Pink dress, blue dress, dress with bow, dress with flower. The room was full of dresses and shoes. She dreamed of going to the ball, but no one would let her. Cinderella stood in the corner, quietly helping her sisters try on dresses. Unexpected miracle. When her sisters got into the carriage and arrived at the castle, Cinderella sat alone crying by the fire. Suddenly, a sparkling light appeared. A silver-haired fairy, her cloak shimmering, gently appeared. She smiled and said, "Don't cry anymore, Cinderella. I will help you get to the ball." Then she waved her sparkling magic wand. The pumpkin in the garden turned into a golden carriage. The mouse in the kitchen turned into a pure white horse. The fairy also turned Cinderella's old dress into a jade green princess dress, sparkling like the stars in the sky. And most especially, she gave her a pair of transparent glass slippers, sparkling like crystal. But she warned her, "You must return before midnight, because when the clock strikes 12, the magic will disappear." The ball in the castle. Cinderella got off the carriage. Everyone was surprised by her beauty. She entered the castle, and the prince saw her first. The prince said, "Can you dance with me?" 12. They danced together throughout the party. Cinderella was so happy that she forgot the time. Escape at midnight. Suddenly, the clock struck. Gone, gone. Cinderella was startled. She ran out of the palace as fast as she could. In her haste, she dropped a glass slipper on the stairs. Then the magic disappeared. She became the girl in the old dress again. The shoe and the search. The prince picked up the shoe and said, "I will find this beautiful girl." The next day, the prince's soldiers carried the shoe everywhere, trying it on each girl. Cinderella's 2 sisters tried to put their feet in the shoe, but it didn't fit. The shoe fits when they arrived at Cinderella's house. Everyone wouldn't let her try on the shoe, but the prince's soldiers said, "All girls can try it on." And the shoe fit Cinderella's foot. Everyone was surprised, but the prince was very happy. Happy ending. The prince took Cinderella to the carriage and returned to the palace. After that, they had a very happy wedding, with cake, fireworks, and little birds singing. From then on, Cinderella lived happily ever after. That's it. Good girl, close your eyes. Have a beautiful princess dream.